Welcome back into the 5 Sports Show, everybody. Wednesday, April 15th. Is that right? 15th?
Yeah, April 15th, yep.
So we're back with another 5 Sports Show. This time, Zach on here joining us, of course. And top of mind right now, the transfer portal for college basketball. On Monday's show, we shared that West Virginia was number 1, the portal rankings. Of course, DeVries and Indiana took them over with that number 1 spot.
West Virginia fans are not going to be happy about that.
But I think it just goes to show how aggressive Hodge is going in this portal season. You have 3 4-star transfers coming in. I guess the better question is, what player or move excited you most during this offseason?
I think Mo Sela from Georgia Tech, that's the one that comes to mind for me. I'm not sure about you, Cam. Of course, I can ask you the same question. But top of mind for me, Mo Sela, big man. They needed that big man presence. They've kind of swung and missed if you think back on a couple of big men,
Yes.
Jesse Edwards was probably the best big man they've had in recent memory. You think of like Jimmy Bell before him, and then you have Harlan Obioha last season. Some swing and misses at that position. They get a guy that they hope can come in and contribute, 6'10" player, average nearly 10 points a game, 7 boards, 1.5 blocks. I mean, he's the guy you want, prototypical size. That's the guy that really stuck out to me in the portal. How about you?
Yeah, I like Sela. I also am interested in this guy, Finley Bizjack from Butler.
Yeah, him too. Yeah,
so
sure.
He was number 3. I want to say he was either 3 or 4 in scoring in the Big East last year. Yeah. 6'4" guard. With Miles Sadler coming in, obviously you don't want Sadler handling the ball all game long. Although he can.
He's a true freshman, though.
Taking some pressure off of him, of course, true freshman. I think it's good to have another senior coming in there who's been around, a veteran in the Big East. And you just talk about Sela from the ACC, Bizjack from the Big East. Last year, Hodge, the Mountaineers did not have a single Power 5 player.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So you have that now, and I think that's a great step. Now, the kid Buchanan, we can talk more about him, but he does need a waiver, but I expect that to be figured out. Now going forward, with Sadler coming in, Sela coming in, you have another freshman, I believe, Alloy Diem, 6'10".
Yeah,
so you have 2 6'10" guys. What else do you think this team needs to complete a successful offseason in the portal?
I don't know. It's tough to call because you need another scorer. I feel like I think a wing player would really help. Maybe a guy that can kind of be versatile, play multiple positions, maybe shoot the ball, handle the ball, but also play down low, play in the post potentially. Really somebody in that wing. I'm thinking like 2, 3, or 4 spot. Your point guard's pretty much settled. You got 2 guys there. You got Jenkins, you got Sadler, and your bigs look pretty decent. Need some middle ground with DJ Thomas, kind of leaving. That's a guy you expected maybe to start next year. You need someone to fill that role. I think a wing player is where they need to look first.
Now, I don't know if you saw Sadler played in the World versus U.S. game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And he had 29 points throwing up the lobs. When you have a guy coming in like that, the highest rated recruit in WVU history, pretty much in basketball, what do you think that does for the entire program in general as like a landing spot for transfers and recruits?
I'm going to sound like coach speak, like something Hodge would say right now, but like it just elevates the whole program, man. I mean, that's just something that can, lift off something great. If you look at players that Bob Huggins got, back in the 2010s, Deshaun Butler, you think of somebody like that led you to a Final Four. Why couldn't that happen again, in the modern era for West Virginia? So a guy like Sadler, I think just from an objective perspective, he is a guy that can be a foundation for a great program. Highest rated prospect, like you said. He can definitely be a foundation to make something great.
And on that line, when you have guys coming in like that, you have these transfers, you're ranked highly right now in the portal. It is still early. Expectations for next year already, like in April. This is obviously a team that wants to make the tournament, but from the expectation side, they should make the tournament, and they should probably go far. What would a realistic expectation for year 2 look like for Ross Hodge?
It's hard to tell because, we covered West Virginia this year a lot, so we haven't really seen these guys play all that much. Like, obviously, you look at the stats, and these are great players on paper.
Right.
But you haven't seen how they'll mesh and work together. I think in year 2, after winning the Crown Championship, finishing with 5 or 6 games above 500. So, great season to come off of. I think you have to make the NCAA tournament next season. I think that's kind of the expectations. You want to grow in year 2, grow every year, obviously, grow to that Final Four type of team. That's what West Virginia can be. That's the kind of the expectations of the program's tradition. So if you can get back to the NCAA tournament, start trending in the right direction, that's, I think, has to be the expectation. Now, in terms of my expectations, it's hard to tell. I mean, I'm sure you would agree. It's hard to tell right now because it's only April, so we'll have to see how these guys, work together.
Now, on that same line, kind of finishing up the basketball talk for as of right now, because no players have come in, at least today on Wednesday when we're recording this. So we have the 3 guys, Buchanan, Bizjack, Sela. Which one is going to make the biggest impact next year?
If I had to make a prediction, it's probably Bizjack. I think Sela will fill more of a role that West Virginia needs.
Yeah.
But I think Bizjack is like, he kind of feels like this might roll some eyes from our fans, but he kind of reminds me of Tucker DeVries, that kind of player that you expect to come in and be the guy.
Okay.
Based on the scoring alone. I mean, 17 points a game, you expect him to – he did that in the Big East. The Big East is an equivalent conference to the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is the best conference in basketball. But it's equivalent. So I think that he could come in and score and be that guy. And that's I think he will make the most impact.
I like that.
As of the guys we've got so far.
Look, I think that's a good comparison. Obviously, take the personal stuff aside, what happened with the program, but Tucker DeVries, 2-time Mountain East Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, averaging over 15 points per game, coming in, expected to be that main guy. Bizjack, I want to say, had over 17 last year.
I think it was like 17.2 to be exact, but
so
double-digit scorer.
A guy that can, like Honor Huff this year, we all know, he was pretty much the offense. And when, he was the most consistent offensive player all year.
Yeah.
You had guys make have some good games, Eagle Staff here and there. Lorient would help out. But really, you had one guy, Huff, consistently being the main scorer. I think next year when you have Sadler and, like you said, this guy Bizjack coming in, the biggest struggle this year was offense.
Yeah.
You have Sela coming in to deal with the defense, so the more guys you can bring in to put the ball in the basket only will help them. The only reason why I say Sela will have the biggest impact is because of Ross Hodge's defensive prowess.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Because a guy like Harlan Obioha, while he struggled offensively, he was basically no one wanted to drive the paint when he was down there.
Yeah.
And it actually is a good intimidation factor when you're protecting the rim. With a guy like 6'10", you have another guy 6'10" coming in. Well, the more big men you can have in the Big 12, the better, especially when other teams are, even UCF, even the bad teams have bigs that are 7 foot tall. So you got to be able to counteract that and play well against those teams.
That's a good point. He'll fit right in with the defensive scheme for Hodge.
And really quickly, while we're recording this, West Virginia baseball is playing in Maryland right now. I want to make a comment, though, that's not on television. And look, baseball fans, the struggle right now with all the different services you got to pay for in terms of the Roku, the Amazon Prime, all that. The game not being on television, Zach, that kind of rubs me the wrong way.
I mean, I told you this earlier off the air. I mean, in the Big 2026, to not have a live broadcast of this game is kind of crazy in my opinion. But there is a radio call, I believe, NSN Mountaineer Sports Network. They're doing a radio call of the game tonight, and we'll have coverage on WDTV as well for you all to watch. So yeah.
I mean, look, when it's Penn State, West Virginia, I don't know how you can't just get a crew up there to video it, but whatever.
Not even like ESPN Plus. I mean, you see pretty much every college baseball game on ESPN Plus.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. So from baseball, now we're going to move on to some West Virginia football. Obviously, this Saturday we're going to both be there for the Gold and Blue Spring Showcase.
Yes, sir.
Concert. Jake Owens performing, that's not really why we're there, but it is a big event. I can see why fans be interested in that. We're more focused on the guys who y'all want to see. Yes, we're going to show the highlights from practice as well.
Yep.
So you can see Cam Cook, Scotty Fox, Kevin Brown. Just based on what we saw last week, what are you most excited to see, and what are you going to be looking at the closest for this spring showcase?
The offense outside of Jaden Bray has practically all new faces. I guess Scotty Fox as well, I should mention. They are all new faces in that group. So I feel like I'm going to look at the offense to see how because that was what struggled. I mean, really, both groups struggled for West Virginia, let's be honest. But the offense is the group that has all those new faces, really new faces across the board. So I think that'll be the group that I'll see to see how their chemistry is. I mean, this is obviously very early spring season. but I want to see what they look like in terms of how they're playing together, how the offense is executing, and see where that takes them.
Now, going on that same line, we were there, obviously, and I want to go because we're reading comments on every video now.
Yes, sir.
Every comment we get, we're going to read. So this is actually from our analysis from the spring practice we were at.
Yep.
And, this guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'll just spell it out. I'll just call him O. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'll just call you O, but you know who you are. We talked about Scotty Fox looking as more confident and looking like he was leading the charge in the quarterback room, at least what we saw.
From what we saw, yeah.
This guy's, he disagrees that Scotty Fox is in the QB race lead. From what we saw, and, this is just from what we saw, right?
Right.
We saw Scotty Fox leading many of the reps.
Yeah.
There was a couple of reps where maybe Michael Hawkins looked better, but in all actuality, it was Scotty Fox leading the charge. What do you say on that regard in terms of, we'll hear from Coach in a couple minutes.
Right.
What do you see on that regard in terms of the quarterbacks?
I mean, I think most people understand how football practice works. Everybody gets reps. But if you look at team 1 versus team 2 versus the third stringers, whatever you want to call it, Scotty Fox was working with the team 1. He was working with Cam Cook, the starting receivers, guys like Jaden Bray, Prince Strawn, guys like that. He was with that lead group. So I feel like right now, from what we saw objectively, he was the guy.
My bad. That was Rich Rod talking. Sorry, I played it. You go on. Sorry.
That's all I had to
middle.
Say. I just said that he looked like he was leading the charge so far. He was with the group, the first team.
And so, sorry I interrupted Zach there, but we're going to play the sound from Rich Rodriguez talking about that directly. Someone asked him directly about the progression with Max Brown, Scotty Fox, and Hawkins. He even talked about some younger quarterbacks as well. But he's talking about the progression he's seeing and kind of giving traits and giving the strengths of each quarterback he's seen so far. Let's hear what he has to say.
I think they've taken steps. I think simplifying has helped a little bit. You can see who's played a little bit. Scotty's played some, but he's still 18 years old. He's still young. I mean, he was enrolled early last year, and he was 17 years old. So, but he's getting comfortable. Mike Hawkins, I think, has made great progress. He's a very conscientious guy. He's got some good experience. He's a really good athlete. So been really pleased with Mike's, and he works hard. I mean, he's here all the time watching film. So that's been great to see. I think Max has gotten better, Max Brown, and the young guys are the young guys. But I see Jiren doing some really neat stuff. And then you see some fresher moments, but he's very, very coachable, very conscientious. You tell him something, and he gets it. And then we got Wyatt that's going to be here this summer, so it's a good group. But the three older guys, I say Scotty's not an older guy, but experienced guys. Scotty, Mike, and Max have kind of led the way.
So you heard it from him, and. Look, I don't want to get too much into semantics here. But what was the name he said first, right? What was the name that he said first? He said Scotty first.
I mean, if you want to look in between the lines here,
you know what I mean? I mean, I think it's fair. I think, look, if you got a guy coming from the SEC and Hawkins, it's easy to look at that and say, well, this guy's coming from the SEC. He's played against competition better than Scott. Like, he's played better comp than Scotty Fox. But then again, like, Scotty Fox was the quarterback when you needed him. He didn't – last year, we talked about this. He probably didn't plan on being the starter when you have 2 or 3 quarterbacks ahead of you in the depth chart. Well, now with the confidence building, even though he is only 18 years old, I believe this is his team, and right now this might be his job to lose if he's not careful with Hawkins, like Rich Rod's saying, progressing very well.
I think I agree with you. I mean, it's his job to lose, I feel like, because he has the experience in Rich Rod's system versus Mike Hawkins coming from a different team, transferring in, versus Scotty, who was there when you needed him, dealt with the injuries, whatever. He was there and started a few games and played decent. So he has the experience upper hand. I think I kind of agree with you on that point. Right now, it seems like he's the lead guy, the guy to lose it.
And a little bit about, for the fans out there, what they can expect for the spring practice. So they had a scrimmage, I want to say a week or 2 ago. They scrimmaged inter-squad between the team, a mix between ones, guys they think are going to be ones, just kind of veterans and guys all mixed together. that is, I think, what we're going to see this Saturday as well.
Yep.
Just a pretty much mix, because obviously Rich Rod's not going to give us the answer to the test. He's not going to put Scotty Fox, Cam Cook, a whole.
We saw what happened last year.
Right.
He drug out the quarterback battle forever.
So he's not going to have I doubt it's going to be the same lineup. I mean, I know for a fact it's not going to be what we're going to see the first game of the season.
Yeah.
But for the fans out there that want to know what they're going to see, there's a head coach Rich Rodriguez giving kind of a preview of what you can expect this Saturday.
Yeah, even Sunday Monday is not going to. We're going to have a depth chart, but it's not going to be finalized till the end of August camp. But on Friday, Saturday's scrimmage, we split the team up into blue and white, because we had blue and white practice jerseys. But and we scrimmaged with it the other day, and I really liked the intensity and the competitiveness of us. It was mixed guys we think will be ones. And some of the guys we think will be ones were on that white team, some were on the blue team. And so it was really competitive. It was a competitive practice, competitive scrimmage, and we'll do that with the spring game. And I'll have some kind of consequences for the winners and the losers, and they seem to enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see. I just want to see, because obviously Rich Rod's going to mix match the teams. It won't look like a 1 versus 2 sort of thing, but with that being said, I'm curious to see sort of the ones we expect on offense, like the Cam Cooks, even maybe the wide receivers that have come in. I just want to see them play. I just want to see them play in a live setting and just see. The fans and us, we're not going to lie with what we see.
Yeah.
If you're there, you're sitting in the stadium, you can tell if a guy can play or he can't. So watching him play against maybe a 1, maybe a 2, maybe even a guy that's a 3 or something like that, I think it's just good to know that going in, so that we and everyone else can understand, well, Scotty Fox and so we're in this first group.
Yeah.
I think it's good, and got to give credit to Rich Rod there. It's a good buffer for us in the media to know, hey, when you see Scotty Fox and Cam Cook go out there, don't think that they're going to be the main guys.
Yeah.
Look, that's a good strategy to have when you're running a program. I get it. I will say, if we could, just a quick end, who is the guy you're most excited to see on Saturday? In actual uniform and seeing him play on in the stadium.
We haven't got to see any of these scrimmages. I mean, if you look at their Instagram, WVU Football's Instagram, they've done multiple scrimmages. It seems like they've been posting lots of videos from practice of scrimmages. So I'm very interested to finally see the group in a full game setting, like you said. And the guy that excites me the most is Cam Cook. I mean, I think that's a very straightforward, might be plain Jane answer, because you're thinking he's gonna be the star running back, the bell cow back of this team. I'm excited to see him perform, see how he looks on the field in full speed and full pads. And then that quarterback competition, we'll be watching that closely. And then Kevin Brown's a monster. We'll have to see how he does against those defensive linemen. So really the offense as a whole, I know that's kind of the group that gets the more of the attention sometimes, but I'm excited to see that group play in, like I said, a live setting.
Yeah, I want to see Cam Cook too. I also want to see Jaden Bray. He dealt with
coming back from injury.
Bad injury last year, and he's a guy that big physical receiver that could definitely help. It's not like last year where they had Cam Vaughn and it was pretty much Cam Vaughn and everyone else that was there. They have a solid wide receiver core. I want to see how those guys play. Definitely. We will actually have a 5 Sports preview show of the Golden Blue Spring Showcase coming out this Friday. So if you're wondering why they're not talking about it, well, it's only Wednesday. We got a couple more days to go, and we'll have more to talk about.
We'll talk plenty about it on Friday.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk everything about it. So all for us here on the 5 Sports Show. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you comment down below something you are excited to see in the Golden Blue Spring Showcase. Or if you have any questions for me and Zach, you don't agree with our takes, put them in the comments, and we'll talk about them on the next episode. Thanks for joining us.